take a walk with me, not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Welcome in Other People's Shoes. As you know, I am your host, Neil Matthews. Thank you so much for hitting play today. Super excited about our guest today. Now, let me set the background a little bit for you guys. We are in this new season, as some of you may have discovered, season 13. So some people have said, wow, 13. Ooh, is that lucky? Is that unlucky? I don't know. I'm going to let you determine that. And I'm going to ask you to do is think about just for a second. Think about a warm place. Think about the sun being out. Think about as you step, you realize that there is an impression being made because you're walking on sand. Maybe the ocean is in the background and there's those annoying seagulls, but they're kind of chirping, not too loud. But you've made this impression, you've made this impact. And today we find our impact and our impression all the way out in Virginia. Help me welcome in Amy. Amy, how are you today?
Good. I had to mute myself so I could chuckle at the seagull comment.
Well, they're kind of annoying. Sometimes they add to the ambiance to the beach.
They definitely add to the ambiance of the beach and their sound and, them flying. But, when you have a clean car and they poop on it every single time, that's the annoying part.
Have you ever been pooped on?
That is such a hilarious question. I have not. We live on a lake here in Virginia, and we used to sit out and watch the sunsets on Sunday when it's warm out, not freezing. My husband got pooped on one time, and I made him hold still enough so that I could take the photo as it was just dribbling down where it hit him on the top of his head, down along the front of his forehead. It was one of my finer photography moments. I should just definitely be a Nat Geo photographer. So I haven't, but I've seen it happen.
True story. I almost got it in my mouth.
Yeah, no, he was like, you better take this before this ends up any closer to me. I was like, don't worry, I got it.
Looked up for whatever reason, because you see the shadow before sometimes you see them, right? Yeah. And I looked up thinking, oh, here they come, because we were having a picnic. It was amazing. It was gorgeous. It was awesome. Oregon coast doesn't get very awesome sometimes.
Yeah.
So it just happened to be. And I looked up, and sure enough, my mouth, for whatever reason, is gaping and almost down my hatch. Yeah, it was true story. People are thinking I'm making it up now. I promise you. That is a true story. Gross.
Ew. You're scarred for life.
But speaking of that, because for me, when we first started interacting, and you said you've developed this test and this evaluation, but I got a little test anxiety just thinking about, I don't want to be evaluated. I don't want to be tested.
Right.
I'm a person of faith. When I read in my Bible, people being tested, faith being challenged, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to sign up for that. My hand is not raised like, please pick me as tribute. I don't want that.
Right.
I'm excited to get into that because I think and I hope that when people hear about a test, they hear about getting evaluated, they hear about things like that they don't immediately shut down, go back to grade school with the times tables test, and they just go, I'm out.
Well, and it's funny because I'm not a fan of standardized tests. I purposefully have not gone after more degrees or whatever because I don't like tests. The way I describe this quiz is, and I don't know if you can relate as well as some of the ladies who will be listening, but when we used to get the magazines when we were teens, and they always had like those fun little quizzes to see who you were going to marry, where were you going to live, were you going to live in a mansion or a farmhouse or a log cabin or on the beach. It's kind of like that. Really helps, I think, for those who have a business and who need to market their business, or even if you're working for a company, it really helps you focus your energy, because I do feel like there's so many options, so many ways to talk about what we do in this world. How do you choose? And so to know a little bit more about you, your energy, and yourself kind of helps you make those choices and eliminate some of the other stuff so you don't have to have it on your to-do list. So hopefully it's making your life a little easier and simpler.
Yeah, and I think that's the goal. So we'll put a pin in that, as my mom would say, and we'll come back to that. So Amy, I love to lead off every show with this question. What style of shoe does Amy like to wear?
Ooh, so I love a good wedge shoe. I'm a shorter person married to a fella who's a foot taller than me. So I need a little bit a couple more inches never killed me. I love the solid that a wedge gives you. There is a ton touch in the ground. I'm not going to usually topple over. You put me in a stiletto, No. And again, I'm short, so always being in flats doesn't really help. So a good wedge.
I love asking ladies that question because I always try to visualize myself
in
the wedge, in the stiletto, in the heel boot heels.
Yes.
All these things, the Birkenstocks, I'm going too far because some of those I just can't stand. But
yeah,
I was trying to visualize because, again, the whole idea is we're in your shoes.
Right.
Right. So if we're going to be in them, we got to know what we're wearing.
Yeah.
Now, is there a wedge? This is how much of a novice I am. Is there a wedge brand?
There's a couple brands out there that I really do like, and I'm not going to lie, Jessica Simpson has a really, really comfortable wedge. I think the important part of a wedge is it can't be too high because you don't want to be on your tippy toes and have them curled. But again, it needs to give you a little height, a little oomph, so that you're not looking at everybody's chests and throats. You're at least looking at them in the eye when you're a shorter person. I usually also put a little gel insert into all my wedges just so I have a little extra cushion.
Well, to help, Jessica Simpson's 5'3".
Well, exactly.
So there you go.
We're the same height. We're shorter ladies.
To prove your point. So even the great Jessica Simpson wears
she's wearing wedges
clearly,
too.
obviously. She knows your pain.
That's why she probably developed such a great wedge.
Well, getting into you and this whole footprint, this whole impact, this whole imprint, what is it for you that really kind of when it happened, right? Maybe talk about the genesis of how it happened. And then the flip side of that, like, why did you then decide to say, you know what? Okay, now that I've had this imprint, this impact, this footprint moment, now here's what I'm going to do with it to help others. Where does all that come from?
I think our lives are built, obviously, of footprint moments. And so when I think of the last deep imprint into the sand moment, I was looking for a mentor and just really feeling like I was lost. Like there was something more that I could be in this world, but I needed someone to guide me. And so prior to that, I was leading my own nonprofit organization. I was consulting with an email marketing company to make their tool a little bit more user friendly. I was speaking across the country about marketing and communications for nonprofits. And I also somehow got roped into writing legislation to help people who list their homes on Airbnb and VRBO, help them understand what rules they should be following for, health code, fire code, all that jazz. So that way travelers can be safe when they're staying at these homes. I'd done a lot at this point. For some reason, though, I'd convinced myself I needed a mentor. And I would say a 1.5 period, I saw after 3 people, and it all just failed dramatically. It failed because, one, they wanted me to be them. They wanted me to do the things their way, and they weren't giving me the space that I needed to do it my way, which I had already spearheaded my way a lot of different places. When I paused and reflected and really realized I had what I needed in a mentor in myself. I didn't really need to look for someone to lead or for someone to guide me. When I really thought about it too, I was like, dang, that's a lot of pressure to put on one person. I think sometimes, and it could be a longer period of time or a shorter period of time, we just question who we are and think we should be this other person. We need to learn it from someone else. And so I really like to challenge and say, what if you have what you need inside you? But if you set up a community to ask questions to brainstorm ideas, to have cheerleaders on the day that you're down, really be there to celebrate when celebrations are happening. What if that's what you need? Not someone to tell you what to do or guide you or mentor you. Now that I've really tapped into that over the last 5 years, I'm feeling so much more confident, even though I don't always know what the hell I'm doing. Much more confident and just going and trying. I've always believed failing forward is just process of life. It's going to happen. But I've also seen a shift of who I've surrounded myself with in my community. It's been really, really amazing to be around other people who are thinking that way too. And if someone has found the mentor, or the doula or whoever that supports them and really guides them and it's working well, that is awesome. I don't think there's one way in this life to go about living.
If I'm hearing you right, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong here.
Got you.
Mentors are good, mentors are not good. Your opinion?
I would say it depends on the person.
Okay.
It depends on the mentee.
Here's the thing that I've discovered. When I was younger, especially, and I couldn't sleep at night, I would turn on the TV and undoubtedly I would find an infomercial.
Yeah.
I think there's still a thing nowadays. I don't know. I've asked a couple of people younger. I'm like, younger than me. I was like, hey, hey,
Yeah.
do you know what an infomercial is? And a lot of them look at me very puzzled, and I'm like, it's just a really long commercial. Really, is all it is. But they're generally selling a product, and there's generally like this, hey, if you act now, we'll throw in this blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. But wait, there's more, blah, 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 blah. And undoubtedly, they had some type of program, some type of thing, some type of gimmicky thing that they were selling. And I guess how that relates to mentorship or needing a mentor is I feel like nowadays more than ever, there's this shift right now that you need somebody. Freddie Mercury said it best, find me somebody to love.
Right.
And I guess when I hear you say that, like, hey, I discovered that I really didn't need, quote unquote, somebody. I, quote unquote, didn't need a product, quote unquote.
Right.
I found it in myself. And now I'm like, hey, I don't need this.
Right.
But when I do need it, hey, I'm going to call up Susie or JoJo
Right.
and have them be there for me. That's such a shift for me because I'm shamefully admitting I'm a very needy person. I need that cheerleader constantly saying, great job. Oh, that was amazing. Oh, that's so good. How you said, and when that was fantastic. I applaud you. Good job, buddy. Like, I need that. But what you're saying is like, listen, son, fella, friend we just met, you really don't. Why don't I?
You seem like you're a pretty go-getter. I don't love the term, but I'm going to use it because I can't think of anything better. I think I would turn it back on to you, Neil, and ask, what is it that you're needing from that outside universe or that outside person that you can't give yourself?
Validation. And again, this is not me.
Right.
We're just using me as the example just because it's easy to have that placeholder of a person so we can talk about somebody so it doesn't seem like gossip.
Right.
Truly, like if I'm getting real vulnerable real quick, I think I've always needed that validation. I've always needed that validation to say, nope, I see you, you matter, you're important.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my life has been spent, and maybe others have done this as well. I hope I'm not the only one.
I don't think you are.
So it's pretty miserable. We just cross out a name.
Yeah.
Like, again, we'll use Steve or Robert or Joe or whoever. And we're like, when they can't fill me anymore, when they can't meet the need anymore, I'm done with them. And I write them off. I'm done. They're out. Recycle bin, here they come. Guess what I'm hearing you say? It's so empowering for me as a person. Again, we don't know each other super well, but it's empowering for me as a person to hear you say, you know what? I kind of had to push some of that away and say, nope, it's within me.
Right.
So now I can go do that. And so again, I'm enamored almost to say how.
Right. And I would say that again, there is not one shoe that's going to fit us all. That's why there's other people's shoes. What I would love to do though, when people are feeling that they're in one way or in one cycle, but they're open to exploring other ways, that's the foundation I love to set. And so if someone is feeling like, maybe I can be my biggest validator, maybe I can be my biggest cheerleader. One question that I love to ask myself, either when I'm at a high or when I'm at a low, is what do I need right now? In this moment, what do I need right now? Sometimes it's to put away the dishes because I need to complete a damn task that is fully done. I just don't feel like I've completed anything today. That's why I think some people make their beds in the morning, because they want to start off the day with a completed task, a win, a check mark. Sometimes it's to call a friend or call someone in my community and talk through something. Sometimes it's to be quiet and go outside and have a fire. God, I love burning. Like having fires and burning, like the clarity you can get sometimes from just being out in nature and especially burning firewood. It's amazing. If I can pause and ask myself, what do I need right now? And if it's something that I can do to fulfill for myself, at the end, usually I'm feeling so much more empowered, so much more in my own true authentic self. If it is, I do need the support of my community. They're there. And I know they're going to support, they're going to love me. They're going to cheerlead me. They're going to lift me up if I need lifted up. They're going to celebrate if I want to celebrate. They're there when I need them, when I can't do it on my own. One thing that with the Joyful Business Revolution, the organization that I work with, that we really believe is joy is a choice. It's not something that someone can do or give you. When we look at joy being within and not joy being outside forces that are done to us, with us, for us, it's a different lens. I think since being able to I'm chipping away at it. Like, I'm not saying I'm rocking it and perfect. We're never perfect at anything. Since I've been able to shift that feeling of lostness doesn't really sneak up very often. That confusion feeling that I was feeling before isn't really there. There's some days people think I'm straight up crazy about this idea, and that's totally a-okay. It's not their shoe to wear. I know in my own skin, it's working well for me, so I'm going to keep doing it.
Joy is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
If I heard that right, joy is a choice.
You are 100% correct, right?
It's a choice. Again, I'm using me just as an example because we need a placeholder and I volunteer as tribute. But if I'm going to choose joy, if I'm going to choose to find that joy within rather from an exterior, would we give a crack addict crack cocaine? Somebody said to me recently.
I would say no.
Most people would. I think for me, for so long, I sought a stage. I sought a microphone. I sought all these exterior things to validate who I was to feel better.
Yeah.
My credit card tells me I can tell when you're not feeling so happy because you're buying shoes.
Right.
You're on eBay. Yeah. You're on Amazon. Who doesn't want to get a package out of the blue? Oh, look, it's for me.
Yay.
That it can actually come with it.
Yeah.
And it has to almost come with it.
Yeah.
If we're going back to my analogy, people can let you down.
Exactly.
You go to call Frankie or Susie or whoever and they don't answer, and then you're like, well,
right,
they don't like me.
Exactly.
I'm gonna be sad.
Exactly. And I think when I reflect back to that time that I was looking for a mentor and going through them like cheaply bought flip-flops, and you just bust them, like, that wasn't the right pair for me. You just, it's not fair to ever put that much of pressure on any other human, I don't think. The shoes they're wearing, again, aren't yours. You may be the same size, they're still not going to be yours. The imprint in the sand is never going to be the same. That's not to discredit that we can't learn from each other. I do think that happens through experiences, through sharing stories, through sharing what's on our hearts. Can we help each other that way? 100%. But looking for that singular person, even a couple people, just to validate every move you make, every breath you take, whatever the song is. I'm pretty sure it's creepy after that point.
Yeah, you're singing Sting or the Police.
Really being able to look within and validate within. And again, making joy a choice and not something that just happens to you can really empower those who have never felt that they've been empowered before. And maybe it's because that outside validation wasn't the right mentor, the right person for them. Maybe they didn't see the brilliance that there was to be seen there. And so if we, again, choose joy first, know that it's not the outside forces that are going to always bring or give us that joy, how much more empowered are you as an individual?
So where does joy come from?
For me, again, I think joy comes from the interactions that I'm having with people, the micro moments that make up a day. It's not all rainbows and unicorns. There are going to be those moments in the day where you're just like, shit, ugh. But hopefully that next moment is a little bit more joyful. And when we get so hung up on those moments, and we can't get over that hump, I think that also is what's leading to a lot of people who just get themselves so stuck that they're in that quicksand and they just cannot absolutely get out. And even though someone's thrown them the life vest or the rope or whatever you use to get out of quicksand, it's almost like they're choosing not to do it and not see that really within you can turn the day around. And so I think when you're having one of those days, weeks, what I would love for you to do every morning is just say, wiggle your toes before you put them on the ground and stand up in bed and do something, even if it's just 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, something that you enjoy and it's for you. And one of those things for me is we've got these beautiful windows in my house and we overlook a lake. For the longest time, I was having health issues and I couldn't have a cup of coffee every morning. I was just every morning pissed because all I wanted to do was go to the window, look out and have my cup of coffee. So I had to reframe and be cool and okay with. It took me a little bit of time to reframe. I couldn't still enjoy that beautiful moment without that cup of coffee. Sometimes it's a cup of lemon water. Sometimes it's absolutely nothing. And I'm just standing there taking in what's going on outside, giving myself the space and time to reframe what my joy is now, because there was an outside circumstance that I couldn't avoid of having to eliminate the coffee in my life. It's a practice that takes practice. It's not, again, there's no magic wands in this world to fix all of the things.
Sadly, there's no Harry Potter. There's no Hogwarts.
Right? There's no Hogwarts.
I just wrecked a whole lot of people's words just now. I've never seen a second of those movies, so I don't even know what I'm saying. Like, I had to Google a lot of that. Harry Potter, really quick. Magic wands. By the way, to get out of quicksand, it's best to lay on your back, in case you're wondering.
Oh,
Flat.
Oh, that would make
on
sense
your back.
if you take up more space.
Yep.
all right.
I had to find that out too. That was a fun fact.
Nice.
But let's go back to our pin in the moment. When we first started interacting and you said, hey, I have this test, I have this quiz, this thing, which by the way, I love the fact of what you were describing it as is like the 17 magazine,
Yes.
I think it was, or the
The
Teen Beat.
Teen Beat. Yep.
Yeah, there it is. We're dating ourselves now.
Ugh.
My sisters had those. I never had those. People are going to question that, but I truly did not.
Oh, I know you were looking at them. Come on, everybody did. Well, and so this quiz, it's called the Content Personality Quiz. And so anyone who's creating content, whether you're a business owner, you're on a team, there's so many pieces of content to be created in this world. Where do you start and how do you focus? So the whole reason behind the quiz was to really help people focus their time and energy on what really lights them up. Again, I've been a marketer. Basically, I started marketing when I was 9. And if I would have listened to my smart 9-year-old self, I would have stuck with this way. But I didn't and started to do other things. When I was 9, I was racing go-karts in Iowa. But you need tires and gas to race. And so I had to go around town asking the local Hardys to give me cash money so I could buy gas to race go-karts. So I was going around interacting with all these business owners. My biggest, I guess, value add was I was the only girl. After every single race, it doesn't matter if I finished first, last, got black flagged, flipped someone off, all these things happened. I would always have people at my pit afterwards asking for autographs, wanting to meet me, wanting to sit in my go-kart. I got the exposure all the time, no matter how good or bad I did. So when I was going around and telling the stories of my fans to these business owners, making the connection that the people who are coming to my go-kart afterwards are usually families who have children. And our Hardee's in town had a ice cream machine that was just absolutely delicious and a ball pit. These are the people who are going to come to Hardee's, the people with kids. Telling those stories and interacting with those business owners is how I best show up. When I took this content personality quiz, there's 5 types that we believe. Live in person is one of them, 100% me. Written is the other. Then there's visual, video, and audio. Time and time again, I'll take the quiz just to double check, we shift and change as we grow. Yep, 100% still live in person. I went to journalism school. Used to work for a paper. Guess who was the reporter who always turned in the story past deadline? Me. The interviewing and collecting of data was so much fun for me, sitting down and writing that article. Pain, absolutely pain. I had the most sweetest boss, and I also spell horribly. The Iowa school system failed me there, or just me. I don't know. Maybe I failed myself. She always told me that my spelling and issue was no reflection of my intelligence. And I was like, thank God for that woman. She also was like, it's okay. Sometimes the story just doesn't come to you. She never could understand why I was always late. And I think she started to just assign me things early so I would get them in on time, quote unquote. So as I'm going through this life and doing marketing and working for nonprofits and really helping build movements behind missions and, the larger purpose, I'm also realizing that I don't pick up the phone and call people. I was a radio DJ for 7 years. Loved it, but I don't pick up the phone and call people. And the reason why I think I was really great at being a radio DJ is the hammer in the morning taught me was to always visualize talking to my best friend whenever I got on air. So I was in this room, this box by myself for 6 hours on end, but I never felt alone. And then we come to this, all right, hey, create a video explaining, and this was at Standardized Construction Contract Coalition. Yep, it sounds as horrible as it does. Make this video explaining how to use this contract contract. I knew how to use the contract. I helped with the software development. I couldn't create the video to save my life. It was horrible. When I started to really let the other things go and be okay that I am a live in-person marketer, that's also when things really, really shifted for me. I approached the quiz owner. I'm not the founder of the quiz. I can't take credit. Shannon Hernandez created this sucker. I approached her after I had gone through the mentorship cycle and really absolutely was just at my lowest point. And I said, hey, I've been using this quiz for the last 5 or 6 years now to build sales and marketing teams in the nonprofit space. I can see your business needs help. Can I come and join you? We figured out what that was and what that looked like. And it's grown and changed as the business has grown and changed. It was one, having the confidence that I knew enough to make that ask, but two, having the confidence that I've lived through trying all the other types and failed, and being able to tell that story and share that with other people. And so now we really help people who are trying to market their business. Their schedules are already busy. They're working with clients. They don't need to take on another thing, really helping them eliminate all the other noise out there and focus on what is actually aligned with them as a person and energetically, so that they know the content to be creating.
Well, I took the quiz.
You did take the quiz.
I did take the quiz reluctantly. I was so nervous the whole time. Old Spice failed me. Speaking of things failing, I have more BO than I think I ever had during that 7-question quiz.
I was going to say, for the 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes that it took you to take it.
It was a long 90 seconds. Stop judging. Okay.
I'm not. I'm joking with you.
Wow, I know you are. Wow.
Too.
Interestingly enough, and this is actually truly what fascinated me about the quiz. Again, just to help, the categories are video, live in person, visual, written, and audio. Mm-hmm. I can already tell you I'm not a written person. Anybody who knows me, same. Siri, how do you spell does?
That text to talk feature on phones saves my life day in and
mind blowing. I don't know who invented it. I want to hug them and like just cry on their shoulder and thank them. Exactly. But not a written person. Never have been. Knew that was probably not going to be on the agenda. Yeah. What surprised me is I really was kind of like, if I could pick. Yeah. And by the way, the graphic looks a lot like the Trivial Pursuit piece that you would see in that game, by the way. Fun fact.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
And so with that, I thought, okay, which piece am I going to win?
Yeah.
You know, which piece am I going to earn in that Trivial Pursuit game? Again, and I was surprised because I really wanted live and in person because I'm like, I love that stage.
Yeah.
The stage loves me.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't actually, because I won video and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I won video? I was kind of halfway sort of expecting audio, if anything.
The huge characteristic that I can see in you, we've known each other for 42 minutes-ish at this point in time.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
A video person can hold a conversation without having a person in front of them. And they also don't mind. And when you say you love the stage, you love being in front of people, they don't mind being in front of people, and they don't need the people to interact with them in order for them to, I would say, quote unquote, perform. You probably can do really well standing on a stage, speaking to an audience, but you don't need that audience there actually for you to do well. You can show up, look pretty, and speak your truth or whatever you're talking about, and not have anybody ever ask you a question, not have anybody ever interact with you. I think another great, characteristic of the video personality is because you can show up and record a video and get it out into the world and not need the people around you to encourage you or to really connect with you and you still sound intelligent. Like, you can have a conversation basically by yourself. And so that means you're not on anybody else's time. You can schedule it. You can do it at 1 a.m. because you feel the most energetically aligned to create a video. And a lot of people who are also video are those who love doing the PowerPoint presentations. Again, they can talk through something using some sort of visual, but they just don't need that audience interaction in order to do it. And so flip that on its head, live in person me. If I get on a webinar and no one says anything, I sound like a bumbling idiot at some point in time. I really, really do. And again, like I speak, I teach, I do all these things all the time, but really like if there's no one interacting, the pretend like you're talking to your best friend only lasts for so long. You can only play pretend for so long. When I do webinars, even if it's one person or 50 people, that chat is open. There is always pauses for questions. There are always polls or some sort of audience interaction because I can't just lecture. I need that human to human interaction either through Zoom, live in person, whatever. And again, I'm a great teacher. Like I can come and sit and work with you and teach you all of the things. But if I have to record a training module for you to watch before we do our teaching, that training module is going to be boring and it's probably going to take me forever to create it. So a lot of times if I need a training module, I'll host a live training and record the live training and then use that as a training module. Or when I have to write now, Neil, smart, I've figured this out. We were talking about the text to talk thingy mabobber. I'll get on Zoom and I can kind of just flip on that talking to my best friend. I will verbally write the article, use transcribe, and then I have someone on my team who written is their content personality type. She cleans it up and like, I look so smart. I love it.
First off, that's fantastic. So I appreciate that breakdown of that. And now you're not going to see your little logo as anything but Trivial Pursuit. So just saying, I feel like I've implanted that into you.
I also love how you framed it. You won video. No one has ever said that to me. You won video.
You can use that too. I don't need royalties. I'm fine. Financially good. But in that, you talk about the video and the visual. Mm-hmm. I've had the privilege for the last, number of years to speak to youth, high school age, youth group kids. And recently I got back involved again. And in our little room on Sundays, there's a whiteboard. Mm-hmm. And I love to get up on the whiteboard and draw pictures and use little acronyms to break down, what my talk's going to be about, or, show this. Or 4th and 5th graders too, I have an opportunity to share it with them. Yeah. And they need visual stuff. They need that. And so I put a checklist every time we do something. Okay, here's my introductory story. Here's the game we're going to play. Here's snack time. Yeah. By the way, that's big time. Got to have that on the list. Yeah. But they need that visual. Especially I've noticed kids today need more visual than anything else. Yeah. Maybe it's just the generation of playing video games. Who knows? True. But I love all that you're saying. The idea of sitting down and writing something is just not going to happen. And I had an author come on and she said, Neil, I think you could be a great author. And I looked at her and I said, how did your deodorant work when that happened? Did you start sweating? I had to get Speed Stick. We went from because Old Spice obviously failed, so we went to Speed Stick and Aspen Cologne had to kind of mask that. It freaked me out. The idea of sitting down and never writing freaked me out. She said, in line of what you're talking about, I hope, is she said, okay, great. You have all your podcasting stuff there. Sit down and talk out that book and find somebody who is a talented writer, who is skilled in that set, to then clean it up and make it pretty.
And there's plenty of those people out there. They're probably written content personality type. And I think the other thing about, this whole concept is, again, I was a marketer for years. All the jobs that I would apply for said I had to be a great writer. I had to be able to design graphics. It used to be an Adobe, but now thank you, Canva, for making life easier. Woohoo! I'd have to be able to speak and give presentations. Oh yeah, you definitely have to call people, especially if I was in a sales role. And I think when I see that quote unquote jack of all trades marketing request from somebody, now knowing what I know, it breaks my heart. It really, really does, because we can't ask one person to be good at everything. That's crazy. And so when I come into teams, I make everybody take this quiz. I look for who is strong in these areas, and then I develop the content strategy around it. And if there is a type that is missing, that's who my first hire is. When I used to set at interviews all the time to build teams, they'd be, well, who's your first hire? I'm like, I don't know. I got to see who you have first. And if we're mostly focusing on developing a marketing strategy for, this multi-million-dollar organization, then we've got to see who's on the team. And I'll bring back that story of that boring standardized construction contracts coalition. We had every content type but audio on the team. And we needed someone who was going to make the phone calls to the offices of contractors and talk about these contracts. I'm interviewing people, and the kid I ended up hiring was a college dropout who was working at the mall selling cell phones at a kiosk. He hated people, told me this in his interview. The CEO thought I was crazy bringing this kid on. He's like, he hates people. Salespeople can't hate people. I'm like, he hates interacting face to face with people. I was like, you give this kid a phone, he's going to do good work. And so we were at 700K a year when this kid started. By the 18 months, we brought in 1.2 million. Selling standardized construction contracts, y'all. Like, it's not fun. None of us loved it. But because we were still able to create in our content personality types, it really let us shine. And so what I love with working with entrepreneurs and business owners, you created this business because you had a passion. You had something in you that wanted you to work with people this way. Stop making marketing a chore for yourself. You don't have to suffer. You don't got to fake it till you can make it. It can be easier and you can let the other things go. And when you're able to light up and create in a way that really lets you shine, that's how you're going to attract the people to like and love you, or whatever we want to say. So I do think it is throwing that jack of all trades out the window and letting people be good at what they're good at.
I think it almost goes back to our initial conversation about you on the hunt and the search for that mentor.
Yeah.
For that person that's somehow going to validate, fulfill you, push you to the next staircase or that next summit. And I think when you start realizing, like, listen, I don't have to do all those things.
Right.
That I can actually put people in places that they can come alive and thrive. You know, I'm a big sports guy, as we joked at the beginning. I would never put a punter in a quarterback position.
Right.
I would never put a lineman in a wide receiver position. Now, those that are not sports fans are like, what? I don't know what he's saying. Like, I don't get it. Big chubby guy catching passes and running real fast. Good idea, bad idea.
Probably not going to work. Yeah.
So I got to ask you about this because it's perplexing me.
Okay.
My brain is trying to go really fast.
I
Like,
see you
Ricochet Rabbit
over
or
there.
the Energizer Bunny. Boom, 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 boom. See if I can not mess this up. So it says the purpose of life, which automatically grabs my attention. The purpose of life, after all, is to live it, taste the experience to the utmost, reach out eagerly without fear for a newer and a richer experience. Do you know who said that?
I have no idea. I was like, God, did I put that in a form somewhere? Who is that? What did you just Google?
You should know this because it's on one of your sites.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh, yeah.
She's attributed to that.
Okay.
Now do you remember?
I do remember. That is on one of my websites. Thank you.
Because you didn't write it. Obviously, we've talked about this.
Can you tell I absolutely didn't write this? The thing that I hear the most when I'm talking about this idea, especially with a solo business owner who doesn't have a team. Oh my gosh, if I only do this one thing, if I only create content and do things live in person because I'm live in person, what about that person who likes to read? What about that person who likes to hear things but doesn't like to go to live events? There's going to be someone else for that person. And that fear of, oh my gosh, I'm not the right person for everybody really, really creeps up for people. I think it really does. I know it really does scare someone to tap into this, to be truly who they are, be okay. And I think letting the rest go is really, really where we struggle as humans, because we want everybody to like love and to really, I guess, be our friends. So when we're reaching out, and I'm trying to remember what it was, reach out eagerly and without fear for newer. When you're trying out this concept of tapping into your content personality type and letting the rest go, that's the reaching out eagerly and reaching out without fear and knowing that there's newer and richer experiences to be had. And just imagine how rich that experience can be if you were able to originally create it either for yourself or for your audience or for whoever aligned with who you are.
Yeah, I think so many times though, as a content creator, being one, still hard to believe I take on that title.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see if it'll come across in the Zoom, Google, whatever we're on. It's very small. I'm holding in my hand a little pendant, if you will, and it's an old school microphone. It's called a ribbon microphone for those audio snobs. You'll know what I'm talking about. And I got it because one, I saw it, and my wife actually made the comment. She said, when you're doing your show, you're very humble, you're very respectful, you hear people, you listen, you're engaging. She goes, but man, when you're not behind that thing, sometimes you're not those things. Sometimes you're kind of arrogant. Sometimes you're egotistical. Sometimes you're like, hey, 1, 2, 3, look at me. Like, let me show you my peacock feathers. And I said, well, then buy me the pendant to remind me to stay humble. And recently, I was on eBay, probably had a bad moment. and I found this necklace that has headphones. That's all it is. And it's simple. Nothing real flashy or blinged out. It's not like this gigantic like Flavor Flay headphones. It's just simple. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to get that. So I did. It was very inexpensive. It was less than $10. But I thought, you know what, when I think of headphones and I put them on, there's 2 of them, one in each ear. I wear the Mickey Mouse style, as I call them.
Yeah.
Because I need to listen 2 times more than I should ever be speaking.
Yeah.
As a content creator, again, going back to this idea is that so many times I want to create something for someone else to, again, be that peacock behind the microphone and be excited and hey, guess who's coming on my show this week? Oh, it's going to be awesome and amazing and again. But in that, all comes back to me.
Yeah.
All hinges on me. Again, I'm just using me as the placeholder because, again, I don't want to feel like I'm gossiping about somebody. Is why are you creating the content? Who's it really for? Sometimes it might just be for you.
And that's okay.
And that has to be okay. Absolutely. Well, Amy, it's been awesome. How can people, one, take the same quiz, maybe with less perspiration that I took it in? And maybe win a prize or a piece of the pie.
You win the video pie.
You win the video pie. How can people do that? Why should they do that? And tell us more where they can do that. How about that? All those things.
You can just Google content personality quiz, or if you go to joyfulbusinessrevolution.com, our quiz is there as well. Again, if you are, I hate to say the quiz works for everybody. It really, really does allow you to see maybe something about yourself that you're just not clear on, and therefore giving you permission to create in a way that is aligned for yourself. If you are a business owner, a coach or a consultant, or even a speaker, I really do suggest you take this quiz. If you're writing a book and you're banging your head against the wall, take the quiz. See if you're written. If you're not, figure out how to write your book utilizing the content personality type that you are. And again, if you're trying to build out a team and you're looking at that team to be creative and be creating, allow them to create in the way that it's most aligned. As a manager, as a CEO, do them that favor. Stop making people be jacks of all trades. We really focus in the Joyful Business Revolution with working with coaches and consultants. We do have this awesome Facebook group that's called the Joyful Business Revolution for coaches and consultants. You're welcome to join it. I get to approve all the members, so I will probably be reaching out. The one thing that my superpower is to really create connections. I love finding that commonality between you and I. And Neil, when we were kicking this off, like we were talking about North Carolina, we were talking about Oregon, I lived in Washington, we were talking about the weather, and they're just within 30 seconds. So we're just so many connections that we were able to make. If I'm able to help connect you to somebody who can help you or that's in your area, like that is what lights me up and brings me joy. That is my service to the world. I don't want anybody to ever be at a time and space when they feel like they don't have that community. So if I can help you with creating that community and connecting to that community, I definitely want to be doing it. Joyfulbusinessrevolution.com is where you can take that quiz. And if you want to join us on Facebook, it's the Joyful Business Revolution for coaches and consultants.
Fantastic. And we, of course, will put all of that
Oh,
in our amazing show notes. All right. So, Amy, now let's transition into some silliness. I feel like we've already had a little bit of silliness, but now we're going to rip open Pandora's box and we're just going to just unveil the ultimate silliness. And that's this. We do this silly thing at the end of every show, most shows. There have been a couple of times we haven't, just because the content's been
not the right timing.
Not the right timing. How do you go from death of a loved one to then silliness?
Yeah.
I feel like that's, read the room. Read the room. Just read the room. We do this thing at the end of the show called senseless. So it's these 5 senses that we have. I know some people think we have 6th.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any dead people, so it's fine. 5 senses, and then 6th is the wild card. So I tried to actually find, to make you feel more at home, I did actually try to find an Iowa Hawkeyes cup.
Oh.
But apparently They don't make them because nobody would buy them.
Boo!
Boo! Boo! So can we just use my North Carolina one? I just happen to have one here.
I'll allow it since it's just right
It
here.
just showed up.
Easy.
I don't know. But if it helps, it is broken. And it was...
I was going to say, did you have to glue it back together?
Yeah, like my heart, okay? I had to glue it back together. It fell off a shelf, and I was very sad that day. And then we did. My wife, she's so great. She glued it back together again. And
No. Well, now we can use it for this.
yeah, I just, every time I look at it, I just feel so sad that it's broken still, but it's healing.
You found a great new purpose for its life.
Right, exactly. So anyway, I'm going to roll for you because you can't roll because you didn't bring a die or a cup. So there you go.
Right? I don't have any of those things. They weren't a requirement.
I should make them a requirement. That's fun. All right, so here we go. You got number 3. I think you can see that okay there. It is a light blue 3. Look at that. How fun is that?
It's North Carolina blue, y'all.
Almost like we know. It's so weird. So anyway, here we go. Senseless is this. Your question, number 3, is this. What is a smell that when you get a whiff of it, you need to smell more of it?
Ooh. Baking cinnamon rolls. Oh my gosh.
Are you baking them or is someone else baking them? Help me with that.
I mean, I don't care who's baking them. But I need another smell. I mean, I think when I think about cinnamon rolls, and this is probably more of an Iowa thing, so any of y'all listening who grew up in Iowa, when it was wintertime, we would always on Wednesdays have chili and cinnamon roll day. And like you eat the chili and then you use the cinnamon roll to like get the rest of the chili out of the bowl, and then you eat the rest of the cinnamon roll. So 1, it brings me to my favorite lunch growing up. But 2, like you just know that there is going to be something warm and delicious in your belly pretty soon. Going in and getting that second smell, or just standing there and lurking like a creeper, waiting for them to be done and taking deep breaths is usually where you're gonna find me.
That's hilarious. Love that. Amy, thank you again. Hanging out with us, doing your thing. I just applaud you for the work that you're doing of helping kind of, narrow that focus down for folks. Because I know so many times that can be very overwhelming in so many respects. So I just applaud your work in that, and I just celebrate that with you.
Thank you.
Well, guys and gals, kids and campers alike, that is it. That is all. That is our show today. Here's my question for you as we get out of here today. Something to ponder. What is that one thing in your life right now that has maybe made an impact, but you're not sure quite what to do with it? Like, do I write a book? Do I start a podcast? Do I make a vlog series? Do I just sit on it and do nothing with it? And maybe for some of you, you're like, listen, I'm just not that creative, Neil. Like, listen, if I could just paint pictures all day, that's fun too. But let me just, a little newsflash for you here. That's still creative. That's still using that artistic side of your brain. But I want to ask you just one last thing again. Here's my question. Whatever that thing is, again, I'm going to just leave it blank. You put in your thing. What hurdle, what mountain, what thing needs to get out of the way so you can come alive and go do that? Now, again, I'm not saying like quit the 8 to 5 or the 9 to 5 or whatever. I'm not saying quit the job, do a Jerry Maguire moment and just be done and go do that thing that we were just talking about. No, I'm just asking you to really get quiet and really get still this week and ask yourself, like, what's that thing that makes me come alive creatively, and walk that out. And maybe, I don't know, just off chance, maybe reach out to my new friend Amy. See if she can help. Let me know if you do that too. I'd be curious to know too. OPSpodcast.com is a great place to let us know. You can also let us know on the social medias at OPS Podcast Show. A little different than the website, but kind of the same. And also this, last thing, promise, don't ever forget this. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned till next week when we walk in other people's shoes.